Peace, family. Oh man, I know some of y'all gonna be mad at Brother Rich, man. I put by accident, I put that Dr. Valentine was gonna be live at 10 o'clock. I meant to put 8 o'clock. I see some of y'all are already here. Share this link. I want everybody to share. He's not gonna be here long. You know, this is one of the most censored men on the internet. So when he comes into town and he comes around, you know, all eyes is on him, ladies and gentlemen. So share the link. Give y'all some time to come on in, share the link, let your family and friends know that we are live now with Dr. Phil Valentine. And we got some special news, special announcements, and he's gonna let you know, fill you in about what's going on. A lot of madness going on, as y'all know right now. Before I see y'all coming in the chat. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Doc, you can hear me, right?
Indeed.
Okay. I want to start out. I want to give this gentleman a shout out. Then I got to share y'all something from Dr. Valentine. All right, so shout out to King Simon. This brother's one of the best when it comes to numerology. Text him your full name and date of birth, and he will set up an appointment for you. You're way more than just the figure that you see in front of the mirror. You're energetic being, but we don't know how to tap into most of our energy. We tapping into like 5%, family. Imagine if I gave you a pizza and I told you can only eat 5% of that pizza, man. You're gonna look at me like I'm crazy. And so we only tapping into 5% of our energy, which is crazy when you look at it from a grander perspective, you know. But yeah, shout out to this brother. He's one of the best in the world, hands down. Helped me over a decade, me and my family. So make sure you hit that brother up. All right, family. Besides that, I see the room is starting to fill up. We got about 500. Share this link, family. Yeah, somebody said Dr. Valentine predicted all this in 2019. Yeah, he sure did. Yeah, Dr. V sure did. Hey, Dr. Valentine, while we waiting for people to come into the room, real quick, my brother, I see you got the Earth is Flat shirt. Could you give me a quick breakdown on what do you mean by for those who still may not understand what do you mean? I know I heard you say it was an infinite plane.
Yes.
Some people think it's flat as a pancake. What do you mean by the Earth is flat, my brother?
Well, this is just a kind of a primer to open up a discussion, because it's not that it's flat. It is an endless plane that we are upon, and it stretches in all directions. So if we're going to any planet like Mars or Venus, most of it would be outside the range of the Antarctic that encircles us. So we would go, say, beyond a threshold of a bubble or a dimensional bubble that has kept us kind of quantified inside of or pressurized inside of a space we call third dimension. And so the only way that we could create an atmosphere is if we set up a closed circuit. And everybody thinks that we're a ball spinning in space. That is a vacuum. That's insane. You cannot put an atmosphere next to a vacuum, because the vacuum would automatically suck the atmosphere out. So how is an atmosphere, which has all these gases, nitrogen, oxygen, and so forth, helium and so forth, how is it not being sucked into outer space, which is this so-called vast, enormous, gigantic vacuum? It doesn't exist. In other words, nobody's sitting down to think twice about what is really going on. So they'll say, well, the atmospheric pressure and then gravity and all this nonsense. All of those are Grimm's fairy tales that were structured in order to keep us stupid. So when I say this, people say, what do you mean the Earth is flat? And what is this? Well, back in the 1990s, I spoke about us being under what is known as a compressed hydrogen dome. And you can go back into my lectures and you could see that the dome was cracked. And that's where the so-called myth of Noah actually came. And actually Noah is Nuwa, Nuwa, who helped to repair the rift that you see now that is people look at and say is the Milky Way. But if you look at it and you look at a scar along the lines of a person, say, who keloids, you'll see it looks like a gigantic scar in the sky. But we are under a dome, and we are under like a gigantic cyclotron that is being run by the movement, the electromagnetic movement, and one being magnetic, one being electric, and the movement of the sun. For example, today is what, the 26th?
Yes.
And as the 26th, on the 21st of the month, the sun, as you see here, is circling, but it's circling in a parabolic manner. In other words, it's doing this, and then as it comes up towards us in the north, it's doing a smaller circle. Then after June the 21st, it starts opening up its circle again to go back down into where we are today. And then as it hits on the 21st of December, it doesn't keep going further down. It stops for 3 days and circles right there from the 21st to the 25th, right there at the same spot. And then at the 25th, all of a sudden, you see it start to move back towards the northern hemisphere again. So we're not spinning around any sun. The sun is spinning above us, and the moon is its electric counterpart, its magnetic counterpart.
A lot of people say the moon is like a satellite. What do you think about that? It's not a real.
Well, it's like a I forgot what they call it, a cathode diode. If you minimize how electricity and magnetism work together, you'll see that the moon, essentially, if you were to get out in the moon, for example, and you're standing in the moon at night, full moon, if you were to get into the shadows would be warmer than if you were standing in the moonlight. In fact, it would be cooler in the moonlight than it would be in the shadow. Whereas in the sun, it's cooler in the shadow than it would be in the sunlight. So what you have are polarities that are working to move the air currents, because we need the air to move in order for us to breathe, move, and have our being. And that movement of the sun and the moon above us is what controls the tides, so that as it's moving at a certain point, say during the time of the summer, like when it gets to be August, around the time September, that's when you start seeing the typhoons and the hurricanes, because the torsion builds up so much that there has to be a release of that energy that the sun and the moon gathers up to that point in the season where it releases that energy in the form of the hurricanes and the typhoons and the cyclones and so forth. So no, when I say this is the only way until we start putting out our own Earth as a plane, and I get my own T-shirts, then I got this one to actually start a conversation.
Indeed, very interesting. I'm sure a lot of people that cleared up a lot for a lot of people listening. Family, I'm gonna wait till we get about that. We 940. When we get 1,000, I'm gonna let Phil Valentine. He got an announcement for y'all, but I want a lot of y'all to be here before we do that. So we just share the link, family. Share the link. I know everybody's on social media. Let them know Doc is in the building. Doc is one of the most censored men on the internet right now. Real quick, Doc, while we waiting for more people to come into the building, I was just talking to you before we started. I was telling you, Doc, man, I'm catching up on the Matrix. I just seen the Matrix Resurrections, and we both said it was like, it was kind of lackluster. One of the things, very lackluster. One of the things, the question I have, just watching Neo and Trinity fly and stuff like that. We hear about how we used to have all these superpowers, and X-Men is based on things we used to do. What happened in the Earth atmosphere that we went from flying or controlling the weather, like storm or whatever it is, to where we're at now, where it's totally unfathomable that we even ever did that, because we're such in a low state now. What exactly happened with the Earth's atmosphere that made us fall? You on mute, Doc? You on mute?
Right, you're right.
Yeah.
In the Matrix, the Earth atmosphere, they said they burned it for the machine, because the machines were using the sun. Then the sun and the machines now turn to humans, because we are like batteries. We give off a certain amount of what is that again? BTUs. British thermal units, and they use that in order to create their own energy. Now, if I got interrupted by my daughter, I'm sorry, because I told you about this emergency that's going on. And if you repeat the last part, because I got the first part, what were you saying on the last part again?
Well, just something. What happened with the Earth's atmosphere that made us go from being able, if we were able to fly, because that's what I'm hearing from all the scholars, we were able to do all these flying and live in the water. We were water people and all this stuff. What happened where we're at this state that we're at now?
Oh, okay. What you're speaking about are what they call root races. The first root race was ethereal. It actually was, it hadn't become embodied yet. So as we began to condense into different atmospheric pressures, which we call different dimensions, as our bodies began to take on more of the necessary covering that we must have in order to inhabit this range. Just like if you were to go to the deep ends, what's his name? Cameron is doing now to shoot Avatar. He wants to go to the Mariana Trench, which is like 5 to 6 miles deep. So if you have to go down there under that form of pressure, you have to have the proper suit. You have to have the proper wares in order to function in that dimension under that particular pressurized zone. Well, that's what happened to us as our ethereal bodies began to take on more of the properties of matter, as our thoughts began to depreciate into and become less and less connected to the God self, or to that higher form of resonance in our bodies. Molecular structures inherent within each of the dimension began to cleave to that body until we essentially perfected the body that we have at this particular time. The perfection of that particular body now became what it is that you see us at this point. But as we began to descend from the first root race all the way down to the fifth, which is where we are at this point, we're transiting now into the sixth root race, which is a difficult thing for us, because essentially we are super seniors. We're not supposed to be even inside of this molecular structure for this long. But because we're trapped in religion, because we're trapped in thinking that the God that we're seeking is outside of ourselves, then this original technology is being deferred to this synthetic technology that a person who can't understand how to transit out of this body, which is what I'm going to be talking about coming up on the 30th, is why they want to diminish our ability to transcend out of this particular state, to change the mind of the cell from within, not from without. They know that we as humans have the ability to change the mind of the cell, therefore change the molecular density, and therefore inhabit other dimensions by the mind changing the cell's mind. Now, what they want to do with what they're doing now is to circumvent your ability to interface with that soul force that is the communication between you and the divinity above and around you and within you. And so what I'm going to do is explain the mechanisms by which they are shutting down your ability, by getting you to become seduced into this virtual reality. That's why I call it Blood War 2022. And it's going to be Blood War 2023 until we find out, until people essentially understand and understand exactly where the war is being prosecuted. All this other stuff with China, with bombs, and that's not where the war is being prosecuted. It is being prosecuted inside of what I call the liquid crystal life force of your evolutionary consciousness. This is the Song of Solomon. When they talked about the Song of Solomon in the Bible, it was the blood speaking. It was the consciousness that the blood carries. That's the Song of Solomon, because that song is actually the resonance. That song is actually the frequency that you are supposed to enhance yourself with, so that you could change this dense molecular structure and then ascend back into the seventh root race. Because the journey between the first and the fifth is very difficult, because that's the fall of man. Going back into the sixth is a light. It's light speed. But because they know that must happen only when the blood is now synchronized with the Kundalini energy and with the energy that is supposed to be feeding us from the solaric force that we call the sun, we are trapped here. And they are doing their best to shut down any ability for you to interface with that soul force. And people are thinking it's, oh, well, they just want to get rid of. Yes, they want to do. They do want to, crop. They do want to fire many people from the human race, if you want to understand what I'm talking about. They do want to give them the pink slips, so to speak, and tell them they can no longer inhabit the body. But that's not the ultimate. That's just cropping the physical. They want those who you and all the brothers and sisters who are tapped into this frequency, they want to get at that song, at Solomon's song, at that bloodstream, at your liquid crystal, what I call the crimson crystal, the liquid crimson crystal of your consciousness.
Powerful, my brother. If family, Dr. Valentine and myself, when we discuss topics like this, because of the age that we are in, and the powerful information that he comes with, we're trying to dance around certain words, but you'll know what we talking about on the internet. They're calling it what's the singer's name? Omarion. They're calling it Omarion, the Omarion. So y'all know exactly what Dr. Valentine is going to be addressing on the 30th, and it's very important. So I advise, let me put the link is not available just yet, right, Dr. Valentine?
That's correct. And so what I've been asking everyone to do, because this is a holiday weekend, we could not access Zoom in order to make the link so that you can register. But what we do ask for you to do is to get onto our website, which is www.uksnow.org. Once again, uksnow.org, and click on where it says contact. When you go in there, put your email in, okay? And then you'll join our mailing list. And when we do have the link prepared, we'll send that out directly to your email. Be on the lookout. Check your spam, just to make sure if you have other envelopes, to check to see if it didn't defer there. Okay. So we are working on the link, and the link will give from the time we give you the link until the 16th of January. That will be the preliminary. That's the discount price. After the 16th, it goes back to its regular price. And of course, we don't mention that here because of reasons, where we are. So we will be giving you that information. Just make sure that you put in your email to go into our website, click on the contact where it says contact, and put your email into our mailing list.
Indeed. Also, family, Dr. Valentine will be on my Patreon page January 3rd. He's going to be giving a little prelude to this amazing event that's going down on the 30th. So I advise all of y'all. I know a lot of y'all are already down with the Patreon. If you're not, just get down with the Patreon. It could be as little as $3, $5, something like that. You could cancel at the end of the month if you so choose. But yeah, definitely get down with the Patreon. We're going to be going in on January 3rd, letting you know what this event really is going to be, how it's really going down. But yeah, I'm excited. I think Dr. Valentine always comes at the perfect time. He got perfect timing. I don't know how you do this. You have perfect timing. Just when I was just saying to myself the other day, like, we need another webinar from Dr. Valentine. When I tell you, I was talking to people, and everybody I talked to, they was telling me about somebody they know that was sick with the so-called or flu-like symptoms and stuff like that. So I'm like, damn, I gotta hear from Dr. Valentine. Mm-hmm. Also, real quick, Dr. Valentine, before we forget, how can they get the Juice Plus? Because I know
we have to. My wife says that because there are certain rules and regulations from the Juice Plus company now, that we can't actually mention that. We can say if they're interested, it's all right. We say we could tell as long as we're following up with a correction. We could say that whole food nutrition, and we could say JP or something to that effect. But to say the actual product name, we heard that they're going to be monitoring all of the government and these people, the pharmaceuticals are going to be monitoring all of the sites to see whether or not we're going to be promoting it as medicine or as something that heals you, this blah blah blah. So we say, we're going to have to just get cryptic and
Mm-hmm.
begin to speak. You know what I'll be speaking about when I say J plus.
Mm-hmm.
You say, exactly who to go to. You go. Matter of fact, if you are interested in it, which is I recommend highly, you can call my wife directly at call 800 number. The 800 number should be there. 800 That's 800. Okay, let me make sure.
847.
Yeah, 800 847 1291. Okay, and if you're having any kinds of problems regarding what we're talking about and what's going to be on the 30th, we will be speaking directly to solutions, other solutions that we've come up with, and we've been helping people to get past this trial, and what we know to be a little more involved. Uh, I guess here I am. I have to kind of choose my words. We have to be very careful about what we're eating, who we're around. We have to look to see whether or not our what we have, what we hold dear. Like I don't know if you ever saw that movie. What's the greatest cop and robber movies? It was called Heat.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
remember what Robert De Niro said? He said, if you're not ready to let everything go when the heat comes around, you have to be ready to leave. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I know up in New York and California and Illinois and these places, the heat is on, and people have to really make serious decisions as to what it is they want and what they value most, their job or their life,
Mm-hmm.
because definitely we know exactly what this is about. And I talked to the brothers and sisters today because they understand very clearly what we're in. The people who tune into you, thanks to you, you've been keeping the younger generation, the generation beyond me and beyond you. You've been that nexus, that connection to the minds of our youth, and it's necessary for you to stay strong and to maintain that watchtower, that life, that what do you call that thing that be on the ocean, that the lighthouse.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That to
Mm-hmm.
keep those ships that are out there in the dark and bring them home safe. Well, that's what you're about. You have a tremendous responsibility based upon the popularity that you've garnered, and they say with great power comes great responsibility. And so you have a great following, and the people appreciate you, and they respect you. They know that whatever it is you're bringing to the table is not poisonous, that is nutritious for the mind, for the body. And so, I'm talking to everybody, you all out there, to appreciate this brother and what it is that he does, what he brings to the table. And, you get to work yourselves, because it's not just about him and leaving the burden of what it is you do. You got to spread each one, teach one, each one, reach one.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this is about. So
Yeah.
I can't wait till we get to the Patreon so I can
Yeah.
actually, stretch out, let you know what
Indeed.
time it is. And I just want to thank you for this time that you have allowed, and I appreciate everything that you're doing to help me, to help others.
Indeed. You want to take two questions before we get out of here, Doc?
Sure, real quick.
Once again, before we get into them two questions, January 30th is going down. Uh, if you are interested in the link, I left the. Let me see. I'm putting the information right here in the chat. If you to get updated when the link is available, make sure you go to the website www.uksnow.org, click the contact link, and add your email address to the mailing list. And the brother and his Queen will definitely notify everybody. All right. Somebody asks, is the Patreon tonight? No, January 3rd, Dr. Valentine will be on Patreon to give y'all a prelude to what the brother's going to be talking about. And before January 3rd, I'll remind y'all and notify y'all, let y'all know what's going on. All right. But like I said, we just can't, they took twice when Dr. Valentine was on here. His stuff is too potent. It's just too potent for YouTube. And they do what they do. So we got to be strategic, family, and that's what we're doing in these times. Let me take 2 questions from the family, and then we're going to get out of here. We'll see you January 3rd. And for the big show, we're going to see you January 30th. All right, family? Let's see some questions. Somebody said, is Pennsylvania good or further down south, i.e. Florida?
Pennsylvania vacillates between red and blue, if you understand what I'm talking about. Pennsylvania is the governor there has been paid off by the Chinese.
Damn.
So you have to be very mindful that anywhere up in the north and any of those vacillating between, they call them the purple states, mixing the red and the blue. They may be red in the front, but they're blue in the back where it counts, at the table where people make decisions and decisions get carried out as law. So I would suggest, Florida, Texas, I believe Montana as well. There's certain places where the Constitution, our de jure Constitution, is being respected. So New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, all the northern states are suspect. The southern states, they're a little bit more, America first type of thing. You'll meet those crackers who are dealing with, racism, but they're so scared right now of their own government that they're welcoming Black folks to come in and stand up and be Americans. But the racism still goes on every now and then because they got the guns and they feel good about, their policing. And but they got a bigger fish to fry right now with that idiot that's sitting in the Oval. So right now is a good time for us to start stocking, for us to start doing the things we need to fellowship, to come together, to find a place where you can take your children and your family and be able to at least get your guns and have the government support the fact that you got your guns and are ready to use them. I'm telling you, it's going to come to a point now. I don't want to get too involved, but you're going to see that what they're doing to electrify the planet, and what I mean by that is to get us into Teslas and electrical vehicles. All of that is to control you, because as soon as they turn to Tesla and Tesla starts turning everything into an electrical this or non-gas this, that's when the government takes over your car, takes over your home with that Suri crap. I don't know why you want to put that in your home. That thing is connected directly to the Pentagon. So you have to definitely understand that we are in a crisis. 2022, the 3 2s. You look out for February, looking for the 3 2s. Look for February to be a pivotal time when things begin to shift. And you're going to see some serious things going into March, April, May, and into June.
Let's take one last question before Dr. Valentine gets out of here. Aaron wants to know, what do you think about UFO sightings? We're hearing about that more.
Yeah, I'd be suspect because they need the distractions. I think that it's the Vatican running beta tests on Project Bluebeam. And I believe that what you're looking at in the skies are technologies that they already have and have already developed. If not, and we do have people coming or entities coming from different dimensions, then what we have is the opening of certain gates, and that the gates are actually in the underground, and that the portals are underground and not above. However, you can open a portal through the dome, but you have to have a certain amount of permission in order to do that. That's why they signed the Antarctic Covenant, and all the countries that signed on saying that they're not going to traverse the Antarctic, because beyond the Antarctic are lands, people people that look like us. That's where they're going. If they say they're going to Mars and Venus and all that, they're going past the Antarctic, because there's nothing but, if you're on this plane of existence,
right.
if you're on this plane of existence, then it is forever. It is infinite.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's more than 7 continents.
Oh, there's thousands of continents beyond the plane. Get that book I was telling you about, Worlds Beyond the Poles, because they're not really any poles. There's no South Pole.
So what is that they call the South Pole?
What they're looking at is the enclosure of the oceans. This is the Antarctic. Let me see. This is the Antarctic. It circles. You ever notice why planes never go north to south? They only go east to west?
Right.
And if the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, I tell people, think about this. The Earth is spinning at 1,025 miles an hour, they say, at the equator. If the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, and you're in New York and you want to head to California, and the Earth is spinning from California towards New York at 1,000 miles an hour, how come it takes something like 6 to 7 hours for you to fly from New York to California if the Earth is spinning under you at 1,000 miles an hour? Because if that's the case, once you take off from New York, you need to be in the air maybe 5 minutes before you are in California. Think about the logic, and don't get into all of this Degrassi, what's his name, Neil deGrasse Tyson, that jackass. Don't get into all of the stuff. He's there as a shill. All right, he's there as a Masonic shill. And he's there to make sure that you don't know what's really going on. And he's a celebrity. He ain't no real scientist. So you ask yourself these simple questions. If the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, why aren't the clouds just completely disappearing? If the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, when a volcano blows up and you see the plume, why does the plume stand still? Straight up and down. Think about the little things.
And it's always a pleasure hearing you talk, my brother. What do you want to leave the people with any other information before we get out of here?
You can call the 800 number, 800-847-1291. And we have our vaccination education packages. You understand what I'm saying? If you want to know more about how not to, come into that, or to deal with legally not dealing with that, the jab. We do consultations, health consultations. I do also marriage and relationship consultations. That's about it. Our university is presently vibrant, and that's pretty much it. Just get preparing for our major webinar, and we're going to drop some things that's going to be very important for the rest of the year.
All right,
pass it on.
Yeah. Hey, family, I want to thank all y'all for tuning in. I want to thank Dr. Valentine for coming on the channel. It's going to be a good month in January in terms of this information Dr. Valentine's giving out. January 30th is going to be on my Patreon. It's going to be a prelude to January 30th, which is the big webinar. So, family, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. I'll see y'all all on January 3rd on the Patreon. All right, family? I'll see you next time, Dr. Valentine.
Take care, beloved.
All right, peace.
Peace.